home, you're most welcome. My name is Essie. Once again, now, in our last videos we talked about emotional abuse. Yeah, we talked a lot. Hope you have watched those 3 videos already. If you haven't watched them, please go and watch them. Then that's when you'll be able to understand what we are going to talk about in this video. Silent treatment. Now, in most cases, sometimes we don't recognize silence treatment as being abusive. I'll give an example. You could be in the middle of an argument. You could be arguing with your partner or your boss or your family member or your name it, and you realize that the conversation is not going on well. You get. So what you decide to do is either to keep quiet so that you will allow this person maybe to cool down, or both of you to cool down. Then you can always come back and talk about whatever you're discussing later on. That is not silent treatment. Now, silent treatment is different from being silent in an argument. So that's what we are going to talk about. How is silent treatment different from being silent or being silenced in a conversation or in any argument? Now, what to know about silent treatment? Silence versus silent treatment. Identifying silent treatment: when silence is abusive. When silence, or rather the refusal to engage in a conversation, is used as a control tactic to exert power in a relationship, then it becomes the silent treatment, which is toxic, unhealthy, and abusive. But if it's being silent, means simply taking a time out to think things through and then address them later, then it is different. Silence versus silent treatment. There are times when being in silence is acceptable and productive in a relationship. Example: one can decide to take a thoughtful time out from a heated argument to cool off or gather their thoughts. What distinguishes this silence from silent treatment is that time out is mindful and there is an assumption or agreement that they will revisit the topic again. Or there is a situation whereby the victim of abuse is silent as a way to stay safe and keep an already abusive situation from escalating. And in this situation, the victim knows that saying something sometimes, even if their partner demands, it will only escalate the situation and leads to more abuse. Staying silent during an abusive situation is not example of silent treatment. It is self-preservation. Silent treatment is a manipulation tactic that can leave important issues in a relationship unresolved. So once you always have this, like, you always have an issue with you don't come up with a solution with whatsoever was bothering both of you, then that means that there's silent treatment in that relationship. It can also leave the other partner of the receiving end feeling worthless, unloved, confused, frustrated, angry, and unimportant, etc. Name it. People use the silent treatment to control the situation or conversation. They also use it as a tool to avoid taking responsibility or to admit their wrongdoings. So, in that way, they are using it to control the situation or the conversation. Like, they don't want to talk about it. A partner who doesn't want to accept responsibility for hurting you, or simply doesn't want to acknowledge or change their behavior, might respond by saying, "I'm not talking about this." Simply say nothing at all and ignore you altogether. In other words, silent treatment is a flat-out refusal to ever discuss the issue now or later. In other words, their silence deflect the conversation and communication that the issue is off limit. You are not supposed to talk about that issue whatsoever. It's off limit. So the person on the receiving end has to continue with their pain and disappointments alone, and left feeling hurt, unloved, dissatisfied, and confused. I'm sure silence abusive. How do you know that silence now is abusive? People who use silence treatment as a way to gain power or exert control in a relationship will use the silent treatment to put you in your place. A cold shoulder for days or weeks at a time. Refuse to talk, make eye contact, answer calls, or respond to texts. You will send them. Fall back on silent treatment when things don't go their way, especially when things don't go their way. If this party, they always want things to go their way, not any other way. It has to be their way. Once there's a way to avoid taking responsibility for their bad behavior, you don't want to accept that you messed up. So the only way for you to not to talk about that mess is you use silent treatment to silence the other person. She has no right. They will not say anything. They will start that conversation and will say that, you know what, Shani, or you know what, you did this and I didn't like. You will either tell them you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to explain yourself, or you would simply ignore them when you upset them. Something that has upset them, then they will practice silent treatment to punish you. We are all humans. We all have flaws whereby no one is perfect. Doesn't mean if you respond. If you are in a silent treatment, like if your partner keeps on practicing silent treatment, how will you respond to it? If your relationship experiences demands, withdraw interactions, you need to become aware of what is really taking place. In most cases, the demanding partner feels abandoned and silent partner feels afraid. Their silence is a way to protect themselves from more pain. The issue, both partners need to take responsibility of their behavior and try to empathize with their pattern. Silent treatment is part of a larger emotional abuse issue. Then it's important for the victimized person to recognize what is taking place and get help. So you as a victim, if you realize that your partner is practicing this over and over and over and over, just find ways and get help. Otherwise, is unwilling to change. It is important that you make your emotion and physical safety a priority. Your emotional and physical safety should be number one. Should be your number one. Emotional abuse is harmful and would escalate to physical violence. Emotional abuse is harmful and would escalate to physical violence, especially when the abusive pattern feels like they are losing control. So on the receiving end of the silent treatment in an abusive relationship, don't blame yourself. Your partner's silence is not your fault, no matter what you are told. If your partner is unwilling to change, you may want to consider your options, including breaking off the relationship at some point. Just run away because you even don't know where you're going. But everyone you reach that point and you're like, you know what, no, enough is enough. I've given it all. I'm tired. You get? So if your partner is unwilling to change and you've done all you've thought was needed, or you feel like You have exhausted all your options, and the only option now you're left with is to break off the relationship. Just go ahead. It's for of your own good. It's for your own good, not for first, by the way, but to exhaust each and everything. But I feel that you need to sit down and think and look at your situation and analyze it. Please go to the comment section, leave a comment, share with me whatever you feel like you want to share with me. If I left out something that you maybe want us to talk about, put it down there. I'll go and read through, and I'll come back here and we'll talk about it. If you have something that is bothering you at the same time, please, I'll not mention your name, just your name is safe with me. Just put down whatever is bothering you, and if you want us to address it, I'll gladly do that. Like I said, much for watching me. Can't wait to share with you more. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, share. Let's inspire, let us change lives. With that, peace, cheers, I'm out.